What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new up in this place, my name is Ntwanano, and if you're returning, thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please do consider subscribing to this channel. We talk about everything from inspiration, academics, young professional vibes here. We uplift each other and we encourage each other to work hard on the CA journey that we're all on, right? So I received a request on one of the videos that I've done before, and basically this was a very long question that I decided that I'm gonna do over a video, because many other people might actually be wondering about the same thing as well. I was asked what work life is like, especially for trainees, whether or not our lives are centered around clients and how we apply the auditing process. Do we work at the client? Do we have an office at the client? Is it worth it to stay closer to the office that you're signed with? I think I've done a video on this before, but yeah, basically we're going to be looking at all of that. So the first thing is, what is work life like? So basically, if I can even try to explain this, right? Work life is like you waking up at a certain time every day in the morning and going to a certain client for a period of time. So we hardly ever work at the office. We normally work from the client's offices, right? And yeah, basically it's you waking up and going to the client, reviewing their financial records and financial information, not very much focusing on the financials, but obviously we do express an opinion on the financial statement. So ultimately we have to look at the financial statements, but from the very beginning we're not really focused on the financial statements, and then you do that basically for 8 hours a day, and you go home and you do it the next day. That's basically how it is. You work in a group, so if you're a first year, you'll have a group that has, or a team basically, that has a second year and a third year, a supervisor and a manager and a partner, right? And yeah, that's basically how it is. Work life is, it's very routine based, so you do things at certain times of the day. I personally like to personalize my days, so if I know I have client meetings, I like to have that very early in the morning when everyone is still fresh. And if I have work, I obviously do have work. I like to do that like after my meetings, and then later on in the day when my energy levels are low, I like to look at review notes. So that's basically how it goes. Review notes are basically sort of notes on the work that you've done that has been reviewed. So if you did something and then your manager has reviewed it and she wants you to change something, she's going to raise you a review note so that you address what she wants you to change. So that's basically what I do later on in the day. For 5 days a week you are working. Sometimes you do work on weekends, you do work on Sundays, on holidays, depending on how active your clients are and obviously the demand that is up there. So that is basically work life type of vibe. I don't know how else to explain it. It is quite interesting to meet different people, but it can be exhausting as well, waking up every day and doing the same thing over and over and over again. What part of the work is done at the clients? Do we visit the clients' warehouses? Do we visit their manufacturing plants? What exactly do we do when we go to the client, right? And this I will merge this with the auditing process altogether. So when we go to the clients, it depends. We go for various things. The main thing that we go there for is basically to have a face-to-face conversation with the people that are involved in the accounting process, right? So if I'm auditing, for instance, the revenue process, and I've selected a sample of invoices that I want to confirm that these actually do exist, there is an invoice, there is a delivery note, that's what we go there for. So when I get there, I'm going to talk to whoever is responsible to process invoices, and then I'm gonna give them a list of, this is the invoices that I selected, can you please give me the hard copy or the soft copy invoices that you have, so I see that these two correlate, right? So that is substantive audit evidence, and we go there to have a look at this audit evidence. It's also helpful to have a face-to-face chat with management as well, especially in the early stages of the audit, where you're doing your risk assessment and you're getting to know the client. And you can ask them, so how did you perform this year? How was your revenue? How was your debtors? Were there any laws that you contravened? Were there any loan covenants that you breached that we need to know about? Because that obviously increases our risk assessment. So yeah, it's sort of those things that you need to have a face-to-face conversation. But obviously, in light of COVID and the fact that we couldn't actually go to the client, we had to do this over Teams, over meetings, on the phone call sometimes, and we could get audit evidence sent to us via email or via collaboration sites. So that's basically one reason why we go to the client. The second reason why we would have to go to the client is when they have their annual stock counts, right? So stock counts are very important for auditors. Stock counts are very important for the client as well, because it confirms the amount of inventory that they have on hand. And we all know that inventory is an asset, so it is susceptible to inflation. Not inflation, what is it? Yeah, they can actually inflate the asset. So we need to go there and make sure that what they say they have is actually what is in their warehouse. So we do go to their warehouses and we have a count with them, and we confirm that what they have in their system, in their books, is actually what is on the floor. So those are the two main reasons why we need to go to the client. And we normally work from the client for the most part of the audit, to be honest, because it's just easier to go and walk up to the people and ask them the questions that you need to ask, because people are more respondent face to face than they are over an email. People can easily ignore an email. How do we put the audit process into practice? Do we look at the financial statements from right from the beginning, right? So the audit process is quite comprehensive, if I can put it that way. You have pre-engagement, you have planning, you have field work, and then you have completion. So with your pre-engagement is where we say, for instance, we have a new client and we want to find out, should we take this client, should we not? Even if it's an old client, should we continue, should we not continue with this engagement? That is mainly done, it's an admin thing that's mainly done at the office that you signed with. So it's not done with the client or whatever, it's done at the office. They do their background checks, they do their independence checks, they do all of those things. The team is normally not involved in this stage of the audit. We normally come when management has decided that they are taking on this client, right? So that is mainly done at the office. It's admin by senior people, by risk assessment, by all of those people sitting up there. And then so that's pre-engagement. With planning, we now, the engagement team that's going to audit this company now comes in and does the planning. So the planning is basically us doing our risk assessment and saying, okay, this company is in retail. What are the risks that a retail business is exposed to? Or this company is an airline. What are the risks that an airline is exposed to? How can we test their revenue? How can we test their inventory if they're in retail, right? So that's basically planning. That's how we scope our audit and say, this is what is a significant risk for us and this is what we're going to focus on, and maybe not so much in this because we're not very worried about it. What else do? We also find out who the governance people are in the company, who's the chairman of the board, who's all of those things and all the processes that they have. And then that is basically planning. And when we conclude on planning, which basically gives us our audit scope and our audit plan, we can now move on to the field work. And the field work is what you hear a lot of trainees complain about, because this is where a lot of work is. This is where we go in and we test the different business processes that they have. So one person in the team could be testing inventory and doing everything related to inventory. I could be doing revenue. Somebody could be doing trade payables and provisions. Another person could be doing going concern and, you know, all of these things, right? So that's what we do in field work basically. And a lot of the stuff in field work is done at the client's premises. That's where we go out to the client and we sit there and we do it, right? And then the completion part of the audit is mainly done by the seniors in the team, which is either your second year or your third year, right? In planning, basically, that's where we now look at the financial statements and we say, okay, we've audited 11 million rand in revenue. Is the 11 million rand in your financial statements under revenue, right? So that's what we go and do. We go in and we take your financials and we compare the numbers that you have in the financials to the numbers that we tested in the fieldwork stage. And if there are any differences, we will ask you to adjust that, and then we'll see if there are any audit misstatements. We'll see if your going concern is appropriate, and if we are all happy, then we will express an unqualified audit opinion if we're happy. And then if we're not happy, it can either be a modified, we can either qualify it, or we can have a disclaimer of an opinion. You guys know all about the differences between those, right? So that's basically how we apply the audit process. This was very brief. There's a whole lot of things that go on into the different, you know, stages of the audit, right? Do we have an office at the client? So we normally don't get an office because we work in a team, right? And an office is just a one-man show kind of thing. So we all need to sort of sit together because we need to discuss certain things and we need to help out the junior team members also. So we don't get an office. Normally what clients do is they give us a boardroom where we can sit around table and we can work from the boardroom. For most audits, we bring our own printers, we bring our own scanners, we bring our own plugs and whatnot. So we do have an audit kit that we go with that contains all of those things, but we don't have an office, guys. We get a boardroom, and if the client is nice, the boardroom will have an air conditioner and like a tea station, and a coffee station, or it'll have like a water dispenser. If the client is really not that nice, it'll just be a room with a table and chairs with no air conditioner, and you guys have to figure it out. This is our work centered only around clients. I want to say yes, because a lot of the stuff that we do is for clients. Every audit obviously that we go on is we're auditing a client. So our work is centered around clients, especially for audit firms, whether medium or, you know, big or small or whatever. If you're in audit, your work revolves around a certain client that you're at that point in time. And the last comment that this person had was that student advisors or student relations in universities don't prepare students enough for corporate. And I have to agree with this statement, because a lot of the stuff that we now experience when we go out of university is stuff that we never even knew before. It's stuff that we're not familiar with. It's stuff that we didn't know basically. And I don't know if it's, you know, the student advisor's job to help us get familiar with the workplace, but I think universities should play quite a big role in, you know, letting students know what is there when they now graduate, you know. But yeah, I totally agree that, you know, this is not enough, or, you know, students are not given enough opportunity to know about these things. And maybe that's why we have platforms like these where someone who has been through the process speaks about it, and you guys can get acquainted with what is likely to happen after that. What options do you have? Because sometimes student advisors don't tell you that you have options. You know, audit is not the only thing you can do your articles in. You can go into banking, you can go into consulting, you can train out of public practice, you know. But these are some of the things that we don't know when you're still a student, and it's quite difficult to find out when you're still a student, unless there are platforms like these where we come and we talk about it, and we talk about our experiences, and we share what we've been through, which is most likely what you will go through if you do decide to go through audit. But otherwise, I think I'm gonna leave this video here. I know it's quite long, but if you did enjoy it, please do give it a massive thumbs up. Comment down below and let me know which part of this video stood out for you, or what did you not know that you now know, because that's what we do here. We inform each other and we encourage each other to work hard in our respective journeys. I will see you guys in my next videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have subscribed. If you have not already, please do consider subscribing. I love you guys. I will see you in my next one. Bye.